Hey man,
Hey, what's up?
not much. Done working about a half hour ago. Kind of working. It's like it's so weird to work at home when you're doing just like a job that doesn't require much physical movement. You're kind of clicking around and reading stuff, and so it doesn't really feel like work.
Well,
Yeah.
I can top that. I'm just doing dishes and hanging out.
Oh, God forbid you're actually living a life. You're not
Yeah.
slaving away at the Trump golf course or some shit.
Yeah, right across the fucking street, man. Oh, what a
I always
nightmare!
forget how close Leo lives in that place.
Yeah. I
It
literally
is, right?
walk Moo across, like I walk Moo up to it and back, man. I mean, it is a
Yeah.
trip.
I forgot how big it is because it's like her street is right across the street from her gate is where part of that compound is, right? Like where
Yep.
that big hedge
Yep.
is. It goes all the way around Summit,
It goes all the way to
the
Gun Club.
Congress,
It
and
goes
Gun
all.
Club. Yeah,
There's three different courses on that field.
which is fitting because that's where the prison is.
Yep. They call
I
it the
actually,
front nine, the back nine, and the Trump nine. And the Trump nine's the addition. They I know they want, like, it was funny. We were talking about it way back in the day, and they're like, management wants us to call it the new nine, but fuck that shit. It's the Trump nine.
yeah,
Donald Trump outbidded somebody for it because it was supposed to be that, like, so the front nine and the back nine are kind of like aligned right against Summit, right? But
yeah.
the Trump nine is tucked way the fuck on off, like, and it's set like way off from everything else. And it was supposed to be a public golf course,
Oh
but
yeah, I'm
but
sure.
for whatever reason, Trump said fuck that when he clubs around me. So he outbidded everyone, and it's now the Trump nine. And I hope it still is.
You said the one on Gun Club, like by
Yep.
the. Oh, okay, I see
Yep.
it. I was looking at it on the map, and damn, this thing is huge. I didn't realize how big
Yeah.
it was. And there's
Yep.
Leo's. I have Leo's address or your address saved at on there. It's right there. That's crazy.
Fucking 300 something sand traps, and we had to fly mow all of them. I'm actually writing about that right now. Just
That's
about,
cool.
just about what it was like to work with those people. Because I mean, it's a day laborer job, so they pick people just basically right up off the fucking street.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
cool. I
and
remember you were writing like little caricature, like paragraph things back in the day. It's always hard to write though, like about the thing when you're living it, as opposed to having some kind of perspective on it.
right, and just having time to do it. I mean, I was waking up at 4 a.m. to get over there. Like,
Right.
I don't know. Waking up early for me is fucking crux of my life, dude. Like, so much of my life would be easier if I could just do that. But
Oh
even
yeah,
waking up at
you and
nine
me
today,
both.
even waking up at 9 today was fucking hell.
Yeah, I wake up about 9:30. Well, lately it's been more like 9:55, and I roll into the and over to the computer. I'm like, "Good morning, everybody." I just text. Obviously, it's just typing most of the time, so that's doable. But yeah, actually, that's a thing, man. That's a real big issue with a lot of people is that our society is built around early birds, early risers, and that's why like school starts at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and most jobs start at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. But like a good portion of of society are night owls, like us,
Yeah,
and we're just fucked for most
yeah,
jobs.
yeah. It's miserable. I can't
Yeah,
write after working all day. I have like nothing to say to anybody. Like, hard enough just to talk, let alone write something good, let alone imagine something. It didn't happen as
Yeah.
as if it had happened. Um,
Right. Yeah, and
it's
LaRocca is definitely I'm thinking about the advice you're going off of. I think the old advice would be right before, especially for fiction writers, you got to kind of because you got to have energy and sustain it for a while. But he's a psycho. He wakes up at I don't even know. I don't even want to know. Like 6 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock to write.
4
4 o'clock. Yeah,
4 a.m.
that's the number I
every
was
day.
gonna say initially. But I was like, that can't be right.
It is. It is, man.
Yeah, that's a yeah. I mean, if it works, it works. But it ain't gonna work for me.
Ain't gonna work for me, dude. Yeah, fuck
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, oh, we should talk about the if like what. you- Do you want to? You want to? Is
question.
Wednesday good or is it?
Oh,
Is,
no, it is good. It's just the schedule changes threw me for a loop, but Wednesday's fine.
all right. What
All right.
time on? Like, do you want to do it? Like, I kind of would like to do it a little earlier than 7:30 or whatever we've been doing. We've been just kind of like waiting throughout the whole day till one of us texts each other. Like,
Yeah. I mean, early works for right now because I don't have a job, but
I'm in like
dude,
5 or 6 o'clock.
hey, this has nothing to do with anything, but my upstairs neighbor just threw her entire thing of trash out off the balcony. That's
In the
fucking
ghetto.
hilarious.
In the ghetto.
Yep.
I mean, part
Oh,
of living in my neighborhood is there's not really a ghetto in Asheville, I don't think. I mean, there actually are. I've seen a few of them. This is not quite ghetto, but part of living here is just throwing your trash outside your door and leaving it there for about 3 days
yep.
until you're like fat ass can get out of the house and take it to the dumpster.
Well, I mean, some days over there, especially in the winter, it must be so fucking cold. Nobody wants to leave
Oh
the
yeah.
house at all.
Yeah, but throwing it off your balcony, I mean, that's risky, dude. What if it
Yeah,
just explodes when it hits the ground?
I have no idea, dude.
You're just gonna leave it there, I guess.
I mean, hers did explode. That's the fucking thing. I see
Oh, is
all
that
these
what happened?
water bottles, all these water bottles. Like that's why I heard somebody knocking upstairs. They're probably telling her to get her
Oh,
fucking ass downstairs and clean it up. But because they were just yelling at me about leaving a trash bag by the dumpster because they don't have a dumpster. They don't have a facility anymore. Anyways,
yeah. This
yeah,
is
whatever that
reminding me
works for
of.
you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Now this is reminding me that I just realized that I have PTSD, from all the childhood trauma I've gone through. Like I identify with that a lot. Just fuck it, man. You want me to take the trash out? You just throw it over the fucking balcony. then you get
What
the
you need to
neighbors involved.
do?
Like, what the fuck are you doing? Throw your trash. You don't know my life.
Oh,
Then you get evicted because you can't do shit like that in a in a society.
yeah. Yeah, we're part of a collective, John. You can't just throw your trash.
And
Oh,
that might not be a bad segue into the story we're talking about.
yeah. Oh, it's really about the failings of society, right? You know what I
Yes.
mean? But more than that, what I love about Dostoevsky is, are you recording, by the way? You recording this?
Yeah, it should be.
What I love about Dostoevsky is he doesn't coddle anyone. I mean, he takes it to the worst place it can possibly go, and he kind of plays with the audience a little bit because it's such an uplifting story, um, in so many ways. But the cold hard reality is, um, this kid is orphaned at the beginning. It's a 2-page story. This kid's orphaned. His mom dies, and he's left to his own devices. Nobody gives a shit about him. Everywhere he turns, people are turning him away. The police don't care. The rich people don't care. His neighbors don't care. Nobody cares. But it's still somehow an uplifting story because he's caught up in the majesty of Christmas and the celebration and the lights and the colors and the fun of and joy of life. Another theme of Dostoevsky is just total exhilaration at being alive. And the kid freezes to death.
I know. What a fucking
What a gut punch.
gut punch. It is a I was struck by how like dark everything is, but like there is like the weird hopefulness in the story. I guess he just captures the child's hopefulness for life. Kind of what you're talking about there. So it's like kind of hard for me to like get a read on this story. I don't know.
Well, it's fun. You fall in love with the kid because the kid loves life, and
Yeah.
and so much of good writing is, getting the audience to identify with the characters, getting them to root for the characters. We've talked about this before. You don't root for Anders in the beginning, Bullet in the Brain, because he's an absolute prick to everybody around him, and he doesn't value life. But through the machinations of that story, you see that he wasn't always this way. He just had a hard life, and the Bullet enables Tobias Wolff to give you all these like quick little glimpses, quick little sketches of things that Anders had gone through. Um, Stephen King does this a lot with
Right.
and It, getting you to identify with these little kids because of their problems
Mm-hmm.
and how they care about people in spite of their problems. Really, that's all good writing and good storytelling is doing, is showing people with
Right.
problems and showing that. By the way,
Or
that's his problem right now. I'm reading another book of his called Roadwork, and it's about a grown man. I don't think King wrote about grown men as well as he wrote about kids. But the protagonist in that story, his name is Bart, is like a 40-something-year-old man who's lost a child, and he's not
I didn't mean to
getting
laugh at
me.
it.
Well, he's not getting me, the reader, to identify with Bart even though I'm like 40 pages in, as quickly as he was able to do it with the characters in It, like Ben Hansen and Bill and Beverly and Stan, and as well as Dostoevsky. And Dostoevsky gets you right there within two fucking pages.
Yeah.
In 2 pages, you can get a reader to start rooting for a character. But the thing is that you have to know their problems. Their problems have to be real, and the characters have to care about something. You know, um, and that something has to be as real as the problems too. And for whatever reason, Dostoevsky, even though he's writing in Russian and this has been translated to English, it's translated well enough that we can glimpse into that enthusiasm that the kid has for life. Um, in spite of his
Mhm.
mom died, he doesn't even grasp. I don't think that his mom's died. He's just
Not the way
wandering
it's
around
written.
looking
No.
for wandering around looking for a piece of bread.
Yeah.
But it's funny, and Dostoevsky breaks the fourth wall both at the beginning and into this story, telling you that he made it all up, but you still care. It's just the magic of words, when he was so able to just fall into a dream and just render everything.
Hey, by
Uh,
the way, yeah, for sure. By the way, did you know like why the hell he wrote this story and why it's written like that in the beginning and the end? Is
I
written
have
like
no idea. No.
he's like writing didn't he used to write for the newspaper or for like an editorial or whatever? Isn't
Yeah,
that
he
how
wrote for
Crime and Punishment was
yep,
released? Like chapter by
for a
chapter?
magazine or a newspaper or something.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
that's what this is all about. And he's just kind of
I
like,
think,
I need material. This is the thing that I've been obsessed with. This idea of this
yeah.
kid dying, and just plop this story out, or this kind of horror story.
Well, in that respect, he's probably a lot. He's very similar to King. They're probably just guys who are reading the newspaper day in, day out, going, I wonder what it was like for this guy. I wonder what it was like for this girl. I don't
I
know if you
mean,
saw it on a chat, but an 18-year-old girl just got arrested in Miami for trying to hire a hitman to kill her 3-year-old son. It's just like, what the fuck was her life like? Is asking those kinds of questions and trying to provide some sort of answer.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but
All
I
right.
mean, nothing changes, nothing new under the sun, right? So we're still 200 some odd years later. We're still where Dostoevsky's characters were in, you know, um, the ghettos of St. Petersburg or whatever. Wherever that kid was. It's actually, I don't think the town's named either. It's just a town that celebrated, that really became alive with the celebration of
Well, he does
Christmas.
mention Petersburg, like when he's describing all the children in heaven.
Right.
The mothers, the well-to-do Petersburg people. I don't know why it doesn't say Saint Petersburg. Where did you get this story? Did you like transcribe this one?
No, it's on the internet. So
Okay.
somebody, by the way, there is a couple other typos I noticed, but yeah, that's what you get when you pull stuff off the internet.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just jack offs like us trying to transfer. Well, like you really, because I've never transcribed. I don't think a whole story. You have that special, like psycho in you that says I need to write down every word of this story.
Yeah,
Oh
I need there's something about me that I need some stories just like all the time. I can't go digging for it. Like it drives me fucking crazy when I lose something that's important.
yeah.
Um.
Well, I do it
So
with
yeah,
poems, but with the poem, it's way more reasonable
yeah,
than like a
yeah. You
fucking
think you're like,
15-page, single space. You've done this before, I'm pretty sure, with one of the ones we
I
read
used
recently.
to. It was one of my little hobbies that I was doing when I was working at FAU. Was something to do in between meeting students and grading papers was transcribe a short story that I want to lose. I don't know. I feel like it makes you a better writer too, but all that to say, yeah, sometimes mistakes happen. And it's
Not,
also worth. The other thing I want to bring up is, you know, this is written at a time where like short stories by now have become a well-versed art, and that people have perfected it and perfected it and perfected it over time, and so it's definitely changed a lot. Um, in the 150 odd years since
yeah.
Dostoevsky wrote this. Um,
Well, let's think about like how he wrote it, because this story exemplifies what I really like about reading the what I've read of Crime and Punishment, because that story does get bogged down about like 350, 400 pages in with a lot
yeah,
of exposition. And at times it just gets bogged down with exposition, but there are moments of like perfect clarity. Like the first, 150 pages are just all in scene. He's just walking around the city.
yep.
And that kind of reminds me of this. This reminds me of that a little bit of how it's written, because the boy's just kind of going from the cellar to the street to the house to the window to the other street to the wood stacks. And it's like boom, 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 all these movements happening. That's kind of how it is with Raskolnikov in the beginning of Crime and Punishment, leading up right up until the murder, right? Um,
Yeah,
and there's that moment in another moment that's kind of like that, where what's really like impressive about Dostoevsky, the heights he could reach, is how vivid. Like this is written kind of like that's also kind of like that scene with the donkey in that book,
yeah,
where the donkey's getting murdered by the people the guy riding it, and
yeah.
everybody's
It's
kind
a
of like,
horse. Well, no,
it's a
donkey.
horse,
It's a
it's a horse. Sorry. Um, but that's like written like kind of like a very vivid like nightmare, and this is not quite as like dark. I mean, it is dark. The subject matter is really dark, but the way it's, I don't know. There's not like that gratuitous violence, I guess, in it. But there's like gratuitous like disregard for human life in it, and it's just kind of like this boy's kind of trapped in a little nightmare. And Dostoevsky obviously has some some mercy to bring him to heaven at the end, right? Because it is a made up. He's making up this story.
Well, I
But
think that's
anyway, the
it's
writing, his writing style, like when he's at its height, I think my point is like he's writing in a vivid scene, and that's what he's doing in this story.
right. The heaven thing, it also explains a lot about why I think people believe in a heaven, is because the torments of this planet and what we do to each other is just too much to handle. You know, um, so some people
Yeah,
just have to believe in something. There's got to be something better than this. Dostoevsky, of course, had gone to prison, so he'd seen all kinds of Serbian prison 150 years ago, where they're being served
no,
roaches for dinner and shit. Like, you can't imagine how much death he must have seen in those 10 years.
yeah, man,
How much rape and how much torture and how much punishments and how much just human misery all around. And I think that's what forced him to believe in something more than more than this. When he came
what
out, look, the
was
only
he?
thing he was allowed to
Was he?
read, of course, was the Bible. But yeah,
Yeah, was he super religious? I didn't know that.
after prison, he was. The only thing he was allowed to read was the Bible. The only thing he was allowed to write was letters to his family.
No, okay.
But yeah, he became exceedingly religious, and at the same time, an enormous skeptic of religion too. Because he was a thinker, and he was somebody who constantly reading the philosophers, constantly reading even modern to him philosophy by Nietzsche and
Right.
probably later some Camus. And he was probably reading Socrates and Aristotle. All these questions you know of why God would allow evil on the planet when he could just wave his hand and make it all disappear. This goes back to ancient Greeks. Trust me, Dostoevsky had read it and considered it for a long time, and he was both things. He was a fervent Christian and a fervent skeptic of Christianity, and it was just part of his dichotomy. And you can see that in the story too. There's just all this misery and degradation everywhere around this fucking kid.
But it's
Um,
Christmas.
but it's Christmas and it's beautiful and it's uplifting and it's everything that you can do in 2 pages. You know, maybe not even 2 pages. I mean, a page and a half, really, because the first and last paragraph are just Dostoevsky telling you that he made it all up. you know, um, but it's like you said, it's all scene. Everything. I mean, it's just the power of scene. Once again, um, all 5 stages, by the way, are happening in a piece. The kid starts low, so we haven't really seen that too often. And we're talking about like the arc of stories.
Yeah.
Going back to the Hemingway story that we
You mean
first
starting
read.
low and going lower?
Well, he starts. He does technically go lower, but it doesn't feel like he's going lower. It feels like um he starts in hell and he's seeing all the beauty of the world, and it
All
just so
right. I see what
happens
you're saying.
that while he's being while he's looking at this human spectacle of lights and majesty and happiness, there's also a lot of happiness and fun happening in the houses that he's captivated by. Character goes on an adventure, right? And it's an
Mm-hmm.
adventure to see what the opulent and the rich and the happy families, what their lives are like. Very much a Tupac story, I guess, in that sense, right? Uh,
Okay.
like,
You want to talk about that?
well, Tupac talked a lot about you know, um,
Like rags to riches type of thing.
growing up in Harlem and growing up in Baltimore and Oakland
Mm-hmm.
and having um all these people around him starving and begging for food, and then going to I think he went to Juilliard or somewhere in New York.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden he's hanging around rich white guys, you know,
Not
and
necessarily rags to riches. It's like rags to observing the rich. But obviously,
right,
he eventually made it. But then whatever got
absolutely.
shot. But,
Funny, I was just listening to that song by Tony Bennett called "Rags to Riches" right before because he just
oh really?
died. Yeah,
Shit,
like
I didn't know
it
that.
kind of is rags to riches in a way. It's this is what my life is like, and this is what their life is like, and I want that. It's
Right.
just you know,
By the way, our lives are kind of like that too, kind of growing. Well,
well,
mine may be a little different than yours, but yours is definitely like kind of rags to like you see. It's so weird living in Florida because it's like even if you're in a ghetto, you just go for a drive and you see a yacht. You see Trump's golf course, or you see all these. You go downtown and you see these people in new clothes and like just flaunting.
and
It's pretty
in
crazy.
city place, they're literally the homeless. They're literally right there in front of the fucking in front of the yachts. You
And
know, you got like
yeah.
100-foot yachts.
I used to
Um,
be enamored by it all, That's why I used to like going out to those type of places like City Place or Clematis or Del Rey, because it's just like you're just like in awe. You're kind of like the kid in the story, just like I didn't know that existed until just now. And he's like, he doesn't even want it. Like in the story, he just wants to experience it again, like see it again.
I mean, the kid, and it's not just the things either. It's the family is together.
Yeah,
Everybody's happy. That's so much a part of it too. Is the celebration of life that um that's part of the opulence. At some point, we'll read F. Scott Fitzgerald's Babylon Revisited, which is you know kind of
oh, yeah,
like
you wrote about that a lot.
after you're rich, you go from riches to rags and then back to riches, and what that's like. But sometimes things aren't always as pretty as you imagine them to be. It's kind of it's the hell of life. Is so much of it is also like who you were at the time.
Yeah.
But for the purposes of this story, right? I mean, the kid just wants happiness more than anything else. He wants to be around people that love him, and he's never experienced that either. It's not just the food, it's not just the lights, it's not just the toys, it's not just the warmth. It's the happiness itself is totally foreign, and he feels it as he's looking at them, and as he's wandering around the city. It's also the fun of character goes on an adventure. It's part of the thrill of the adventure is just everything's new. You can kind of feel that when you travel.
Hmm.
Um, is everything being new
Yeah,
and
everything's new,
everything
novel,
being
and kind of
excited,
wonderful.
exciting. It's also like a little bit of fear, at the back of your head, like, "Ooh,
Oh
what the
yeah.
fuck's gonna happen here?" You know. So the fear is part of it also. But yeah, a short little character goes on an adventure and dies. And that's just the humor of Dostoevsky. It's also the sadness of him is that he knew people like this um were experiencing this kind of pain, and it was his job to write about it. And it's
Right.
just as simple as that.
And,
Somebody's got to tell these stories.
yeah, to tell
There-
the story and to like kind of expose how fucked up his world is and how fucked up I should say the world is, but he's talking about a very specific place, to a specific audience, which is Saint Petersburg, Russia, in
Yeah,
Russian. So he's like, man, this is fucked up. Even if heaven exists, this still shouldn't happen.
right.
There's no justification, and you just giving a kopeck to the boy, giving a pittance to this boy, does not absolve you of his fate. The cop turning away just because you didn't get a good look at him, you knew what was happening. You're not absolved
Or
either. You could have done something. He's indicting all these people in the story, who could have done anything. to save him.
Well, that's the hell of it is that charity is so hard in this world. Real charity is fucking hard.
Yeah.
I
Well, it's
mean,
hard for
I don't
any
know.
one person, but like think about if anything could have happened in this story, right? Instead of getting a cake, a piece of food, she gives him a coin he can't even hold in his hands and drops it.
Right.
Instead of the police officer taking them somewhere warm, he just turns away, completely disregards them. Just give him a little bit from each. Like I think that's kind of what he's saying through these characters in the story is that it doesn't take one. It does. We don't need just one saint. We just need a bunch of people doing one nice thing here and there, and maybe that could have been enough. It probably wouldn't have been, but still would have been better than nothing.
Yeah. Or the kid chasing them.
The kid hitting him. I mean, he was like part of the. He was just a manifestation of the whole shitty fucking environment this kid was in. He literally took his hat. Kid froze to death. He took his hat, led up to him freezing to death, and hit him in the head. So he's like in a daze, freezing to death.
Yeah. And it's the dichotomy once again. It's usually the worst things that happen in the world happen in the worst places of the world. Not always, but usually. And that's the hell that the poor find themselves in, is climbing up out of that situation.
Right.
Where I'm in a place where a lot of rappers fall victim to this. We're just talking about Tupac, he had finally made it, multimillionaire, multi-platinum selling records, movie star, rap star, and he's hanging around Suge fucking Knight. Um, the
And
night that he was killed.
Not to mention his whole crew has got to be people from his old neighborhoods, his old friends.
Yep.
Imagine if you were still hanging out with your old friends from when you were a teenager and Flo's away.
Yeah.
How do you escape it?
Hang around you guys.
There you go.
You have to make new friends. Actually, Snoop Dogg talks a lot about this. Like, man, there's some people in life you just gotta cut them loose, and it doesn't matter how close they are. They can be your parents. If they're bringing you down, you gotta get rid of them.
Yes.
And that's
I mean, look at our brothers too, man.
Yeah.
They never got out of it. They always had the same friends. At least I know my brother did.
My brother did 5 years in prison. Came out, hanging around the same type of people. And that's just how it goes. It's every bit as much a mind. Like, it's not being poor, but it's being predatory, which is the type of mentality that you have to have sometimes.
It's like a survival. Yeah, it's for survival.
When you're in that survival mindset, it almost becomes self-perpetuating. That you stay in your position.
Right.
There's a reason that rich people have rich kids who go on to, sustain their wealth. So much of wealth, by the way, isn't just having the money; it's having the foundation to keep the money and to keep perpetuating the money and understanding, the psychology of money and of having it and of very isolated type of environments. Every bit as isolating, in fact, as being poor is. But here, like for an example, what am I talking about? Okay, 75% of people who win the lottery are broke within a year, no matter how much they win. The amount of money is not super relevant to that number. In fact, that number is across the board, whether they win 10 million or 100 million or 500 million.
Is that real?
Or 1 million. Yeah, look it up.
I mean,
75%.
I've heard of like most people who strike it rich on the lottery lose all that shit right away, but I didn't realize it didn't matter how much.
In a year, they're usually broke. Why? Because they have no financial literacy. Okay. Um, they don't know that the easiest thing in the world is to blow money. Me and you know this.
Well, I am an
But
American.
and we've never even won the lottery. So if we had, like, if that were to have happened to me, like, I would just live off the interest because I would know right away I'm gonna blow all that fucking money if I ever see it. If it's ever in my hand.
I told you about the story of my dad getting a lump sum back pay from his Social Security, like hundreds of thousands, like $130,000 or some shit.
And how quickly did it last, or did
About
it
a
go?
year. About a year.
Yeah.
Man went buck wild, man.
That's just what people do. There's what people do. So the same is true with just how people treat other people. The same. It's not just true with how they treat money. And it's not to say that rich people treat each other all this much better per se. They're every bit as hierarchical as any poor person is. But I think that the bully is a manifestation of just how cruel the poor is to the poor. That behavior generally would not fly in rich families or in rich neighborhoods. Like, he wouldn't be able to do that in the house, in one of those houses that the kid was looking at. You wouldn't be able to do that. It only happens on the outside.
Think about what happens when the beggar boy goes into the house. He's breaking the contract of that house. What makes that place happy is that everybody's abiding by a certain standard, right? Everybody's clean. Everybody's from the family or a friend of the family or whatever. They don't fuck with each other like that, you know? But just the boy being who he is breaks that contract too. So it's like, you're right. They have their own, it's like a different rule set though. But you're right. That's a manifestation of, like, there's all these different aspects of society represented. There's like the unseen horror in the cellar with the mom dying, the private horror of that. The
police officer.
The police officer, yeah. The establishment that turning his back, the rich family turning its back on him, and even his poor brethren. Like, I don't even want to say that, but like this kid that's also probably pretty poor, also on the street with him, is fucking him over too. So it's just like a complete like denial of his humanity in 2 pages by every facet of society. And where is he accepted? He's accepted in death by the guy who finds him. They try to figure out what happened. At least there's some mechanism in place there, but it's too fucking late. And he's obviously accepted by God in Dostoevsky's eyes, which is where a lot of the hope in the story also comes from. Like you said, it's like it's a balm for all this bullshit that the kid went through. And that's what religion sometimes is for people. It's just this like balm for the horrors of life, horrors that can occur in life.
Can and do.
So,
and to me, it's like it's a balm, but it's a balm that so often makes the horrors of life permissible rather than us fixing them. 150 years later, we're still dealing with this shit. We're still dealing with unwanted kids dying in gutters, kids whose parents kill them or let them die, kids who get sold. I mean, you talk to Leo, worked in all these drug rehabs and whatnot, and these people sell their kids to other drug addicts. And I don't mean that figuratively. I mean they literally sell babies. 30 grand, 40 grand or whatever, 10 grand. They sell their bodies. We're still dealing with the same shit. Uh, the same horrors of life 150
Hey,
fucking years later.
we have iPhones though, Craig. I mean,
Yeah, we all those protests, all those fucking riots, all those fucking rebellions. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and Huey P. Newton and all this fucking great turmoil of life. All this blood that was shed for equality. And what do we got? We got iPhones, the fucking ShamWow, right?
ShamWow. You're putting the ShamWow on the level of the iPhone. God damn. At least give me an Xbox. Fuck a ShamWow.
Yeah, an Xbox One and you got PS5. But
You're about a generation behind on the Xbox, but I'll forgive it.
well, what's the new one called? I don't even fucking know.
Exactly. It's stupid. It's Xbox Series X.
Jesus Christ. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like the same balm for the same problems, rather than figure out how to solve the problems of poverty. We just like we just rebuild our technology. We just build it up and build it up, and it doesn't feel like the technology is ever solving that problem. It's usually just left into the hands of the fucking rich.
Yeah.
The
Well,
rich have become more opulent. But
I totally agree with your point, but I mean, we do have electricity and air conditioning. Thank
me
God
and
for
you
you, by the
do,
way.
thank God. But yeah, thank God for me because we'd be fucking dead over here. But plenty of people
Yeah, you're
don't.
right. Me and you do. That's the privilege we have for sure. And in this country by and large, but not everybody even in this country has that. So
Trust me, there's plenty of people who don't. There's plenty of people. Um, we have a giant heat wave going on right now.
I know.
Arizona, fucking massive heat wave, 130 fucking degrees. If their AC goes out, hundreds and hundreds of people are gonna die.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas us in Florida, I mean, we're just getting fucking flooded. You can hear that thunder in the background, like rain every fucking day. Rain, heat, rain, heat. I mean, it's the other thing that's changed. This climate's getting worse.
Not
So we
just
haven't
rain,
figured
but
out.
like deadly lightning, like
Yeah,
terrifying lightning. That's what I noticed down there when I was there recently. Every time I go back, by the way, it's hotter and hotter, and I notice it. I notice it
yep.
every fucking time. It just gets hotter and hotter, and the storms are getting crazier and crazier. Even the little ones that just roll through and they're like, 10, 15 minutes. It's like, holy fuck, dude. It's insane.
Me and Leo were laughing because we heard you and Laura wanted to camp out. Like
Oh, yeah.
the first day, I was like, dude, they will fucking die in this heat, man. Um,
If you don't, we were saved by the weather being so shitty, as far as the heat goes. But then you got like these crazy thunderstorms. Yeah, that would have been stupid.
yep, malaria. Um,
Oh yeah, malaria.
infected fucking mosquitoes. I mean, it's so we've gotten better technology, but the climate's gotten worse and poverty's gotten worse. And that's how much we've accomplished since this story was written. Haven't gotten anywhere on the whole kids dying thing. Haven't gotten anywhere on the whole opulence versus poverty thing, but maybe someday. Maybe someday. I haven't gotten better on the whole charity thing really all that much. But
We do
yeah.
have Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter. What's it called? The basically Kickstarter. Uh,
Um GoFundMe, I think. Something like
GoFundMe.
that.
That
I
joke
don't
would
know.
have landed better.
Some shit.
Yeah,
Um
yeah. Well,
Trust
all
me,
right.
so I'll pick something next time and it'll be a little bit more uplifting. We'll do what are we gonna do? Something by a new author. Um I'll look.
You,
I'll message you. It'll be something
you,
that you haven't read before. So
you
it'll
did,
be.
you did send me a few stories a few months back about things you were teaching that were good. I think they were out of your book or something.
Did I?
Yeah, I need to find it though. I'll look too. I'll try to remind you.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. If
just
you find that, send it to me. Rick
alright.
Bass is great. Author you haven't read before. Really strange. Um, I love Rick Bass. We still got read Andre Du Bois, but Rick DeMarineris is great. Uh, who else is on that list? The guy who wrote Someone to Watch Over Me.
Mm.
The guy who wrote the short story, The Great Tandolfo. Fuck, what was his name? Anyways, I'll find some. We'll find some. It'll be a
Yeah,
little bit happier.
yeah, just something modern would be cool.
Yeah, more modern
Yeah.
and a new author. And we'll try
All right.
and and then we can do poems after that. We'll do
Yeah, I was
some more
thinking about
poems.
doing some poems. I'll try to find some new shit too.
Yeah, man, find a couple. We'll do a couple next
All
time.
right.
All right.
All right. So hey, so for next, you want to do it on Wednesday, right? Like, can we do like maybe like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds great.
All right, we'll just try to do a little earlier, so we're not like sitting around all day. I don't like. I know you make food and shit, and I guess that's what happens. So you don't
I
want to
think
like
that's the problem is we started too late, and by then I was already like cooking 20 things, and
exactly.
it was a new dish.
Oh yeah.
So it was like,
Plus, it was a weird day. We changed the day
yep,
randomly. So,
exactly
but I
that.
think honestly going forward, I think Wednesday is probably the best for
Well,
me in general.
let's do four on
But
Wednesdays.
obviously,
Right?
that might have to change depending on what happens with your like teaching schedule or whatever job and end up doing. So
They just sent me a fucking email saying there's a new teacher orientation. I'm like, you guys didn't hire me. Why do I have to be at this fucking orientation?
maybe they meant to, man. You gotta
Yeah, maybe.
be like, hey, where's my
Maybe.
classes at? I need to get ready for this orientation.
I need to know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, goddamn, dude.
It's such a
Oh,
It's this conversation for another day, man. The perils of academia, the perils of being that in between, like uh, adjunct and like full time professor. I
yeah.
don't envy you, but I think you're definitely on the right track. So hopefully,
When
it
it's
can
happening, it's great.
stabilize something.
When it's not happening, it's the fucking like it's the dumbest job in the fucking world. But
Oh yeah, exactly.
um, and you feel like it, especially when you're dating somebody who
Who has a real job?
has to sit together and has a real job, and we're looking at you like you're some fucking homeless. You're one of the you're that kid who just wandered in. You just
You're,
happen to
you're
be
asking
fucking
her
35 years old.
exactly. You're asking her
You're about to
basic
hand me a
questions
Kodak
like,
and kick my ass the fuck out.
what's it like to have like stability in your income and health insurance? What's that like?
I don't know. I hope one day to know.
Yeah. All right,
Anyways,
brother.
but I'll talk to you
Yeah.
later, man.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later. I'll see you. Bye.